some of you guys have got a couple of questions before we start the show. Level 2s. Yeah? Someone hit me with a question. There are 2 questions. What's the first one? Somebody?
It's on your review sheet that was handed out. The questions that say before the screening. So you've got 2 questions there.
Or I could just read it off this piece of paper. Would that work for you?
It might be less painful for them.
Okay, so what kind of films? What kind of films do you look for when choosing a film for film club? Right, what I'm looking for is a film that is important to cinema history, that it has been produced by filmmakers who are doing more than just turning out your average Hollywood picture, and also one that gives a wider perspective of what cinema is. So it's got to be a great movie, it's got to introduce you to stuff that you might not have seen before, and it's got to be made by filmmakers who are doing something which is interesting and maybe a little bit different from the stuff that you're seeing in the cinemas. Okay, that's the answer, basically. Oh, and I have to like it. And why did I select this particular film for Film Club? When Empire Magazine did a questionnaire on the top 100 characters of all time in movies, these are the most important film characters ever. Darth Vader came in at number 5, and the dude from the Big Lebowski came in at number 7. Right? So the central character in this movie is like the 7th most important character in film history. Yeah? This is an amazing film. And also the Coen brothers themselves are amazing filmmakers. So the reason I chose it is because it is worth watching, in my opinion. And the Coen brothers are worth knowing about. Okay, so I'm going to do a quick presentation on this. The first thing to understand is that the Coen brothers were born in the late 1950s. They're American, and this is one of the very few American films I'll be showing at Film Club. Most of them are either British or European. Yeah, because we see like far too many American movies, and you guys need to know that films get made other places. But the reason the Coen brothers are the exception is because they started off as independent filmmakers. They financed their first film themselves to the tune of $1.5 million, which is about £1 million, with some other investment, but basically, and they shot it on a 2-to-1 shooting ratio. So for every second that was in the film, there was only another second's worth of footage, which when you're shooting in those days is unbelievable. Normally it's about a 5 to 6 to 1 shooting ratio. And the reason they were able to do that is because the films were meticulously planned. And their films are still meticulously planned. If you look at their storyboards are identical to their final edited films. So they go in knowing exactly what their film is going to look like, and as a result of that, their films look great, and they're also really cost effective. They're really, really kind of cost effective filmmakers. Do I have to make you stand outside?
Sorry, then.
The other thing is, Coen brothers, 6 of their movies, and they've only made 19 so far, have been Oscar nominated, often in multiple categories. Yeah? And they've won twice. Best Picture for No Country for Old Men and Best Screenplay for Fargo. And if you haven't seen that, I really recommend that you watch Fargo. It's a great film about a kidnapping that goes wrong. And there's a really, really nice sequence where one of the bad guys gets fed through a wood chipper. Just really, really worth watching. Great stuff. But that's the Coen brothers. Joel and Ethan, but I generally refer to as the Coen brothers. What's so great about the movies? Beautiful and distinctive cinematography. You can always tell a Coen brother movie. Philip Seymour Hoffman, who died a couple of weeks ago, the guy who died in New York, the actor, who's actually in the film that we're going to see, he said, when I was working on The Big Lebowski, I knew that I was in a Coen brothers movie just by looking at how it was lit. Yeah? They've got a very distinctive look. Yeah. Superbly written scripts. They write scripts unlike anybody's other scripts.
Do they write the script themselves?
Yeah. They write the scripts, they direct, they produce, and they edit under a pseudonym. Yeah, so they use another name for the editing credit, but pretty much they do everything, and they do everything together. Yeah. And they also produced Bad Santa, by the way. And anybody who's watched Bad Santa, the opening to Bad Santa, will go, this is a Coen Brothers movie, even though it was directed by Terry Zygoff. Yeah? Actually, it just looks and feels like a Coen Brothers movie because they actually were going to make that film before it got passed off, and they ended up producing it. Always unique characters. The film we're going to watch, The Big Lebowski, is basically a parody of a genre called film noir. And film noir is a crime, like American crime drama from the 1940s and 50s. Yeah? So the genre of this film is like a parody of film noir. Yeah? Just in case anybody needed to write down anything about genre on their piece of paper in the questions for during the film. Right? And the reason it's a parody is like normally the hero in a film noir film would be the detective. It would be like Humphrey Bogart, hat, go out, somebody gets kidnapped, like a wealthy guy's wife gets kidnapped, and it's up to the private detective to work out all of the mess. Like The Maltese Falcon is a film noir film. There's like a whole series of them, and they're kind of classic and beautiful films. This is a parody of these films, where instead of having a kind of cool, chain-smoking, hat-wearing private detective, you have a stoned, drunk, right, hippie, who the only thing he wants to do is play bowls, and the only thing he cares about is his rug and being left alone. So the characters are really unusual. They use really intelligent use of music. The sequences between music and picture are remarkable. There's a sequence in a film called Miller's Crossing where there's a huge shootout between these like 1920s gangsters, in which there are kind of people, like it's real Quentin Tarantino levels of violence. Somebody gets like practically cut in half with a Tommy gun, and all you see is his body like going like that in the window, silhouette. And underneath there's this kind of like "Oh Danny Boy," this kind of classic 1920s kind of Irish song. And the juxtaposition between the action and the music is phenomenal. Yeah? Simple stories. Even though they make kind of art house arty movies, they don't make unintelligible movies. Their movies are always easy to follow. And their films are always entertaining. They're always either funny or witty or intelligent. They're always well acted. They're always well written. Great movies. Okay, this is it. Independent filmmakers who make popular films. That's what makes them good. These are their films. Fargo, Miller's Cross and Barton. I think Raising Arizona, which has Nicolas Cage as a comedy. No Country for Old Men. My Brother, Where Art Thou? With George Clooney, which is an amazing movie. True Grit, which is a remake of the John Weston film, but an actually very good remake. And the one we're watching today, The Big Lebowski, and this is like a shot from The Big Lebowski. These guys, watch these guys together, they're just beautiful to watch the sequences with these three guys. This is the dude, right? This is a Vietnam vet who wasn't actually in Vietnam and who just constantly harps on about violence and guns, but is busy looking after his ex-wife's chihuahua. And this is Donnie, whose sole purpose in the movie is to be told to shut up. And by the way, that's the absolutely magnificent Steve Buscemi, who I think is just one of the great actors of our modern age. That's the story, which I've already told you. It's a kidnap story. What you guys may not know is that the main character in The Big Lebowski is based on this guy here. He's a real guy called Jeff Dowd. And Jeff Dowd was the publicist on Blood Simple. And Blood Simple was the first Coen Brothers movie. So The Big Lebowski is a film they're making about the guy who launched their career. Yeah, and he's a real guy, and he really is a weed-smoking, drunken, bowling bomb. He's also a very, very good publicist. Yeah, really interesting guy. A proper hardcore stoner. Their first film, made on 1.5 million, I told you a bit about. This is a quote, and I'll read this out to you for two reasons. One, so that you can see when you're quoting something, you put quotation marks around it and then you cite it. I'd like to see a lot more of that. A minimal budget of 1.5 million has ensured that Blood Simple is superbly streamlined, strict to its essential characters. On the other hand, its stunning, evocative visuals belong to a film costing twice as much. That's the reason they have a career, because they only spent $1.5 million, and they made a film that looked like they spent 3 to 5, maybe more than that. Yeah. Why this movie? You asked me why this movie. Okay. it's a cult movie that has spawned its own religion. There is actually a religion now called Dudism. You can become a minister of, or an ordained Dudist priest. And trust me, I have considered it as a possibility. So you can actually become a licensed dude and you can abide. You'll get that by the end of the film. And like I said, because when Empire magazine voted the best movie characters of all time, the dude was voted in at number 7. Number 1 being the main character from Fight Club, which I think was an excellent choice as well. Okay, that's all you guys need to know about that. Let's watch the movie. When you're watching the movie, the things I'd like you to watch out for, more than anything else, is the just the incredible cinematography. Now I'm just trying to find the volume switch here. I'm hoping that everything's going to be.
You muted it on the player.
Pardon?
You muted it on the player.
Oh yeah.